All right. Thanks for joining us, Eric. So we're fresh off your session, so it's kind of going to sound very generic to start off here, but what is tabletop testing?
So tabletop testing is where we take events that could happen in our credit unions, let's say a ransomware attack or a hurricane if you live in a storm area, and we test those events. We test our policies, our procedures, and our incident response plans against those events to see how we actually respond. And we're able to do this in a safe environment where we're able to find out maybe where we need to improve without actually going through that event. So at the end of the day, it helps us to be better.
Okay. So you mentioned hurricanes. It could kind of be for anything that you deem to be a serious potential threat?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So anything from an active shooter scenario, like I said, to a hurricane, to ransomware, to what if there was a major internet outage, you can tabletop almost anything.
Okay. So credit unions, it sounds like tabletops could be used in any industry. But why credit unions in your mind?
Because at the end of the day, our members depend on us, and we have so much complexity in our systems now, and there's so many things, so many elements of those systems that can break when they're stressed, right? And so we have all of these services that we're offering to our members now, especially all of the digital services that we offer. And we want to make sure that our credit unions are as prepared as we can possibly be to keep all of those services up, no matter how they're stressed. But then even in the unfortunate event that something took those services down, how are we going to be able to return those services as quickly as possible?
Sure. I believe you said your credit union has been doing it for 18 months?
About 18 months.
Okay. Have you, I mean, you don't want to, obviously, have you ran into a scenario that's happened? Or are you still just planning for the future possibilities?
So that a scenario that something that actually happened, we took a direct hit from Hurricane Ida. And so that was about 24 months ago. So that was probably our first unofficial tabletop, right? And we were pleasantly surprised going through that, because there were some lessons learned, but we were very well prepared. And so going through Hurricane Ida definitely played a part in the foundations of our tabletop testing.
So now that you're a little bit experienced in it, what best practices would you offer other credit unions looking to adopt practice?
So the number one thing, two come to mind. The number one thing is just do it. I don't mean to be cliche there, but even if you do an imperfect tabletop test, it's better than not doing one at all. And so number one, just do it. The second thing would be document what comes out of that tabletop. Document your lessons learned. Document your action items, and then make sure you follow up in that you go and you do everything that you say you need to do after you complete the tabletop. Because you can do the tabletop test and you can learn a lot, but if you don't document anything, well, then nothing really changes.
Yep. I guess kind of along those lines, you had pretty good participation in there with people throwing out what's happening at their credit union. Is this kind of a space where that collaboration can work between credit unions?
It's an excellent space. This is probably one of the best spaces that I've seen. The Security Summit, you get a bunch of folks in a room, and it's usually about 100 of us, and it's an environment that is big enough where you have a multitude of different size credit unions in the room. But at the same time, it's a small enough group where everyone is able to talk, everyone's able to share, and there really is a lot of collaboration that happens. Every time I've come to the summit, I've really taken away some super helpful things.
Yeah. yeah, I was impressed just while I was in there. So well, that's great. I don't know, anything else you want to add or?
Just that, you know, a lot of these things that we talk about, like with Tabletop and InfoSec overall, sometimes we make it more complicated than it needs to be. I would say any of these things, just start doing it, do some research on it, take some first steps on it. I think you'll find more times than not, you'll be able to figure out what works for your credit union and what you need to do for your shop. So that's probably, you know, what I would close.
Sure. Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.